Yes. Thank you, Ms. Mead. We are back live after our closed session, and we do, I believe, have a motion coming out of closed session, which we'll put on the screen momentarily. We move by Councilor Swain, and we will have the pursuant discussion on the motion when it's moved. Councilor Swain, you have the floor, Sam.
Yeah, thank you. I'll move that the proposed 2024 capital budget be amended so that the source of funding for the joint high school site assembly facility in the amount of $8,125,000 be changed from debt to grant funding, and that administration provide a report on funding options for this project as part of the 2024 spring budget adjustment.
Thank you, Councillor. Please speak to your motion if you wish.
Yeah, so I'm not going to spend too much time on the need or the value for the high school site. That's inherent. We've spoken about that at length, so I won't go there. A lot of people questioning, how are we spending $8 million and potentially $4 million more? I agree. I can't believe that's the number, but that is the number, right? And so administration has looked at every single option, and the reality is if we don't do this, then we do not get 2 high schools and everyone leaves. The point of the motion here is the original recommendation was to be funded through debt, which was going to put on a significant tax burden to our residents in 2025 and beyond. And so I believe it's more prudent for our residents to use grant funding and provide administration the opportunity to get creative, to find other ways to fund this project and ultimately deliver the joint high school site in the most fiscally responsible way.
Thank you, Councillor. Members of Council wish to make comments, observations on the motion before us. Councillor Telebus, Nathan, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor. I think it kind of goes back to our initial conversation about a want versus a need. This isn't a question in anyone's mind, so definitely a need, and I don't even think we need to really go into much more detail. So obviously, my support on this one.
Thank you, Councillor. Appreciate that. Councillor Barnhart, Kathy, you have the floor.
Yeah. Just help me if the administration could. Thank you, Mayor. The grant pot that we're taking it out of includes what? Like what? Which page do I look at to see which where the grants are available to cover this?
Page 40, Kathy. I think it is for grants.
40?
It's called deferred revenue, page 40. Mr. DeBlanco, or if you wish to speak to that question from Councillor Barnhart, please. Thank you.
Thanks. I think I heard you mention it. It is on page 40. There's a table there for deferred revenue, which includes government transfers, municipal sustainability initiative, as well as Canada Community Building Fund.
Thank you, Mr. Blanco. Does that answer your question, Councillor Barnhart?
What I'm struggling with is the total of 8 million, and the amount that we have in grants is
10.6.
10.6. So it's significant. But I expect the administration is then going to come back if that's not doable and let us know if there's other options. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion from members of council? I will make a comment as well too. Sam mentioned the cost being what it is for servicing the land and so on. I have several contractor friends who don't do work in Beaumont. They do other kind of contracting work. It involves water, sewer, power lines, and their costs they said have tripled in the last year for servicing. So unfortunately, I think, as you mentioned, that is the number, but it is something I've heard from other contractors who do this kind of work, that their costs have skyrocketed in the last year to 18 months, especially on servicing of land and that sort of thing. So it is a very big number. It's disappointing as big as it is, but it is what it is, as the saying goes. So there is some validity to it for sure. All right, having no further comments, questions, or concerns raised by any council members on this motion, council, I'll ask you to, oh, sorry, Sam, any final comments on your motion before I go to the vote? I'm assuming not. Thank you. All right, council, I will ask you to vote on the motion before you. And that carries unanimously. Thank you, council. That carries 7-0. Okay, I'm back to the capital here. Okay, we are now continuing. It's 9:24. I'm going to make an executive call in a few minutes here on how best to proceed. Next on growth is the BSRC pool, CO2 tank relocation, RCMP security update, and so on down there. So I'll ask councillors to, if they have any questions, concerns, we try and go in order of the growth on the page on page 22. So I'm assuming Councillor Telebus, you may have a question on the BSR pool CO2.
Just prior to that,
Oh, go ahead, sorry.
thank you, Mayor. Just prior to that, just looking for a little clarification on that requirement for the additional 4 million for the school site.
Oh, right, sorry. You mentioned that. I forgot about that. I apologize. The question was on the additional 4 million that is anticipated beyond the 8. Ms. Raymond, are you comfortable with that question?
I'm gonna restate your question, so it hasn't heard.
Yeah, and actually, maybe I'll just clarify that for anyone that's watching. So, in addition to the 8 million and change that is budgeted for the school site, joint high school site in 2024, there's an additional 4,125,000 for 2025. That's within that budget, and I'm just looking for clarification on that number, please.
Ms. Raymond, let me get your mic on for you. There you go.
Sure. So that number is the all-inclusive to do all the grading work, the servicing, the site prep, the road construction that would be required to get to the site. So that's an all-encompassing number that's based on the design and the requirements to have the high school site ready. So we have to build, I forget how much road, I think it's about 400 meters, give or take. North-south road, and then we have to do all of the pipe sizes and stuff like that. And so some of those are larger transmission pipes. Some of those connect into our larger commission lines, those sorts of things. So they're bigger, they're service pipes versus the smaller diameter local pipes, so they cost more. And we just have more pipe and stuff like that. So some of those costs in there are well over $3 million just to do the on-site servicing for that one there. Yep.
Okay, perfect. And I guess kind of 3 questions into one here. First one, and then I'll continue on with the next one. But I guess first one is, are these costs new to us, or did we recognize that off the get-go would be the first question? I can stop or continue with a few.
No, I can answer that question. So they were known to us in terms of that they would have to be done, but the magnitude wasn't known. So when we were first looking at the site, we had done more of a paper-based exercise, and it wasn't until we got more into understanding the actual site that was chosen and then the specific requirements that went along with that site and the limitations. It's low. We have a lot of storm that we need to build to be able to hold the overland drainage and that sort of thing in that area. We have to bring in the fill. Cost of fill is widely variable depending on where that fill location happens to come from, the price of diesel, all these things. And then inflation does play into that as well. But it was more as we've gotten into that, the costs have increased as we've had more requirements that have been known. So I believe that was primarily the grading, the servicing, and some of those transportation costs were the increase in that cost estimate.
Perfect, thank you. And then just one more question, Ms. Raymond.
Yes.
I guess combination of it, but in terms of working with the developer, whether it's from offsite levies, applying those, or just funding from the developer, is that something that we've looked into to help reduce some of that cost, or find, I guess, efficiencies with the developer to reduce those costs?
Sure. So some of those costs would include the arterial roadway, which would be part of the offsite levy. That would be recoverable. We are acting as the developer for that neighborhood. So we have that opportunity. When you put in oversized infrastructure, you get to be paid back over time through an endeavor to assist, or you're front ending. So you're first in, you put in all the big infrastructure, and then the next developer that comes behind you, they're paying you back. So we do have that opportunity to be paid back as development in that area progresses. What that timing looks like, that could be 25 years from now. This is not in the immediate development phases of the Elan neighborhood. They are actually working north of 505, and their plan is to continue on to go north and then to go out to 244 and to kind of continue in that quadrant. So we are kind of accelerating a lot of that development phasing by planning this, but this was the only suitable sized parcel that did exist to meet this need in that time frame that did exist. So that was why this site had been chosen, and that's where some of those costs kind of come along. But we can be repaid back, but a lot of those repayments are going to be smaller. But we will be working with the developer to look for cost efficiencies. When we put this out, we will be doing a tender package. They're welcome to bid on that tender package. We do, and that there would be successful through that open bidding process. And then we could see economies of scale, but I couldn't tell you what that would look like until we go up for procurement.
Perfect. I guess one last comment. I mean, obviously having a high school there, it would be very encouraging for a developer to continue on with growth within that area. So I do believe that brings an additional benefit, but thanks so much for your answers.
Thank you, Counselor. Appreciate that. All right, I have been informed, we had 4 motions for capital. Now we have 6 motions to go through for capital on the balance of the page, plus utility, plus an overall wrap. So I'll make an executive decision. We're going to stop here at 9:30. I'd rather come back fresh tomorrow than try and get it done by 10 and then not be ready for tomorrow. So I regret that's not going to please everybody, but we have 6 motions instead of 4 from a little while ago. So with that, I'm going to call a recess in our meeting and we'll come back at point of order. Sam?
Thank you, and sorry, and this is purely selfish. So I will be here online tomorrow. I'm traveling. So there are 2 motions. There are only 2 more motions from me. And it might be easier to speak to that. So if you give me 10 minutes to get through mine where they get voted up or down, and then I don't need to bring them online, but I'm easy either way. That would just be what I would ask.
Yeah, I prefer to accommodate, but I'd rather not. Sorry.
All right.
So I'm going to call recess for 9:31 this evening. We'll reconvene at 6 o'clock tomorrow night, fresh and ready to go tomorrow. I appreciate everyone being here a half hour later than expected, but transit thought went longer than I thought it would, and that's a good thing. Good discussion is always important, not to rush things. So thank you, everybody. I appreciate that, and we'll see you at